Hi guys, today we're going to work on putting all of the isolated skills that we've been working on, and we're going to put them in use today. So we're going to be doing things with decimals and fractions and being able to convert between a fraction, a decimal, ordering fractions, ordering decimals all together. So the first thing we're going to work on is writing a decimal as a fraction. So notice when we say that, whoops, new color, Mrs. Hook. Notice when we say 0.028, how do we really say that number in big kid terms? We say 28 thousandths. So if it's 28 thousandths, what number is going to be our denominator? 1,000 is going to be our denominator. That's how we write that as a fraction. If it was 0.28, it'd be 28 over 100 because it's 28 hundredths. Now, we always need to write things in simplest form. Again, we know that I can at least divide this by 2, but again, 1,000 is a big number, so it might be easiest for me to find the greatest common factor. To find the greatest common factor, I can use prime factorization. So if I find the prime factorization of 28 and the prime factorization of 1,000, I can see the greatest common factor when I find my dancing partners is going to be 4. So what do I need to divide by up here? I need to divide by 4. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 1,000 divided by 4 should be 250. Again, 100 divided by 4 is 25, so I've got an extra 0, so that's 250. All right, so 28 thousandths as a decimal is equivalent to 7 over 250 as a fraction. Now we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to write a fraction out as a decimal. So why do I need to do this? If I'm given something in a decimal and something in a fraction, again, it's like I'm comparing apples to oranges right now. So I want to compare apples to apples. So I need at least 3/4 of a pound of dried apricots for a recipe. To find a bag that contains 8/10 of a pound. I want to know, is this going to be enough? So we're going to change 3/4 into a decimal. To write as a decimal, I divide 3 divided by 4. So 3 is my dividend, 4 is my divisor. So numerator is my dividend, denominator is my divisor. So this is the way I set up my problem right here. So I do 3 divided by 4. And then I just solve my problem. How many times does 4 go into 3? None. So I add a decimal point, add a decimal point, add a 0. 4 goes into 30. 7 times 4 is 28. So now I have 20. 4 goes into 25 times, and I end up with 0. So 3/4 is 75 hundredths. And this is something that should be mental math. We should have that probably memorized by now. Since 75 hundredths is less than 8/10, there is definitely enough in the 8/10 pound bag. Okay, so this is what we call, right, 3/4 being equal to 75 hundredths is what we call a terminating decimal. Terminating means ending, right? So terminating decimal means I don't have anything that's repeating. In this problem here, I'm going to have a repeating decimal. So let's take a look to see how this is going to look. It's going to be the same process, 25 over 6. First of all, this is an improper fraction, so I know that I'm going to have a whole number included in my answer. So I'm going to solve this problem. Again, my numerator goes on the inside, denominator goes on the outside. So I've got 25 divided by 6. And let me move this problem down here. So I have 25 divided by 6. So to solve this problem, I say how many times, it's a division problem, so how many times does 6 go into 25? Goes in 4 times. That gives me 24. I subtract. I end up with 1, so I add a decimal, drag my decimal point up. 6 goes into 10 one time. That gives me 6. Now I have 40. Bring down my 0. 6 goes into 46 times. That gives me 36. 40 minus 36 is 4. Bring down another 0 is going to be 40. Do we see a pattern that's developing? What pattern is developing? What's my answer always going to be down here? I'm always going to be left over with 4, which makes it 40. So my final answer is 4 16 hundredths with my 6 repeating. So if it's only the 6 that's repeating, I put a bar over the 6 to indicate that it's repeating. That little bar is my little math symbol that tells me I have a repeating decimal. So instead of writing out 0.66666 18 times, I just put that bar on the top. Okay? So that is what we call a repeating decimal. 0.75 is what we call a terminating decimal. All right, we're going to look at a couple more examples and then you're going to do some on your own. So there's nothing different about writing 5 800ths as a mixed number as opposed to writing this out as a fraction. I just have a mixed number, right? So I know I have five whole of something. I say 0.08 as 800ths, so it's going to be 8 out of 100. Now, is this in simplest form? No, it's not. So I need to divide by my greatest common factor, which should again be 4. So I'm going to end up with 5 and 2/25ths as my final answer there. All right, here's another question. Why don't you try to do this one by yourself? So go ahead and hit pause and try this out, and I'll be back with the correct answer. All right, let's see how we did on this problem. I'm going to end up having how many times does 40 go into 350 is going to be what I'm doing here. So I think that's going to end up being 8, and that's going to be 320. Now, how many times does 40 go into 300? That should be a 7, which gives me 7 times 4 is 28. So now I'm going to have, bring down my other 0. 40 should go into 200 5 times. So this is going to be a terminating decimal. So who scores higher? I think that an 87% is bigger than an 80%. So who scores higher? I do. Whee! Good work. Okay. All right. And we've got one more of putting it all together, and then you're going to try some on your own. So let's take a look at this problem. This time I'm ordering. Notice I have mixed numbers with fractions and decimals. So the first thing we're going to do is write 2 2/3 out as a decimal. So I need to do 2 divided by 3. 3 goes into 26 times. Should be a 2. 3 goes into 26 times. So notice my pattern is I'm going to continue to get 18 down here and 20. So I can say 0.6 repeating. Now I want to do 9/20ths. So I need to do 9 divided by 20, which is going to give me if I could do this right, which is going to give me 45 hundredths. So it's going to be 3.45. So now I have everything as a decimal. So I've chosen to make everything into a decimal to compare. So now I can order. So I've got 2.6 will be my smallest. 2.6 repeating will be my next biggest. 3 4/10ths and 3 45 hundredths will be my biggest number. So again, the order is going to be 2.6, 2 2/3, 3 4/10ths, and 3 9/20ths. Okay, now you are going to do these two problems by yourself. Hit pause and I'll be back with the correct answers to check how we did. All right, so let's see how we did here. This is, if we pay attention and use our ordering skills, I know that 1.8 is going to have to be my smallest number because that's the only number with a 1. So the next thing I need to do, and I know that 3 1/5 is going to be my largest number because it has a whole number of 3. So I just need to compare 2 2/3 and 2 7/10ths. So again, if I do 2 divided by 3, I'm going to get 0.6 as a repeating decimal. So 0.6 is less than 0.7. So 2 2/3 is my next smallest number, and 2 7/10ths is my third smallest number. And down here I've got a repeating decimal, so we do 5 divided by 12. When I do 5 divided by 12, I'm going to end up with 0.416 repeating. And the 6 is the only digit that repeats there. Okay, so again, in this lesson, we're really putting everything that all of these little isolated skills that we've done, we've put them together so we can compare fractions and decimals all in the same problem. We will see you next time.